So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite NBA Youngboy albums. I did this video for XXXTentacion and I only felt like it was right to do it for NBA Youngboy. By the way, these are basically picks based on my opinion, so if some of y'all feel like it's a problem, I'm sorry, so let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, we have a two-way tie between 3860 and I Rest My Case. To be completely honest, I don't really like 3860. I actually ended up listening to the album the day it came out, and I was like halfway through, and I was just like, nah, man, I can't listen to the rest of this. Like, y'all have to understand that this was the time period when NBA Youngboy and Quando were basically going against Lil Durk, and NBA Youngboy really didn't want to drop 3860, but Quando kept pressuring him, and they ended up dropping the tape. There are some good songs in here, but honestly, I don't like 3860. It also goes for I Rest My Case, because even though this album was good and it was YB's first album in 2023, I really didn't like it that much. There are some good songs on here, but there are some bad ones too, but I honestly don't like this album. This is in no way to disrespect NBA Youngboy, but honestly, I just didn't like I Rest My Case. Coming in at number 4, we have the Better Than You album featuring DaBaby and NBA Youngboy. Mind you, I do like this album at some points, but there are some other times where I just don't like this album. Because mind you, this was the time period when NBA Youngboy and Lil Durk were beefing, and this album actually came out a few months after King Von had passed away. You also have to consider the fact that DaBaby got dragged into the beef because he was working with Durk's biggest op, which was Youngboy. Honestly, there are some good songs in this album, but I don't listen to it very much. I will listen to it from time to time, but I don't like this album very much. Coming in at number 3, we have another two-way tie between the Top album and AI Youngboy 2. Now, a lot of people would say that all the albums that NBA Youngboy ended up dropping in 2020 are the best, but honestly, I feel like this is the best one that he's dropped. Because there are so many good songs on this album, and he does not miss in any of them. Some of my favorite songs on this album are Dead Trolls, Dirty Steak, and also All In. Now, let's talk about AI Youngboy 2. I do listen to this album from time to time, but honestly, I don't feel like it's my favorite. It's not for me, and honestly, there's some points where I just don't like it, and there's some points where I do. One of my favorite songs off this album is, of course, Make No Sense. It is honestly one of my all-time favorite NBA Youngboy songs, but honestly, this album has grown on me a little bit, but honestly, I prefer Top over AI Youngboy 2. Bringing in at number 2, we actually have the Don't Try This at Home album that recently came out this year. This basically was YB's most anticipated album that he was expected to drop, and it did not disappoint. There are some bangers on this album. There's Big Truck, Mr. Golden, all sorts of good songs on this album. To be frankly honest, I feel like this is one of NBA Youngboy's best albums of 2023, and this album was honestly so good. I listened to this album all the way through. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have The Last Lamento. Now, a lot of people might be wondering why I put The Last Lamento over all the other NBA Youngboy albums. Because quite literally, this was a time period when NBA Youngboy was on house arrest, and this was the very first good album that he dropped while he was on house arrest. This is honestly one of my favorite NBA Youngboy albums of all time. The Last Lamento is my favorite of all time. Let me know what other rappers you guys would like me to do.